It's we a few days ago we told you, we'll try to take into consideration the fact that you all haven't heard the tape that was made with this last retreat group. But if there's some gaps and some things that we say, you'll catch up when you hear that tape, because we know that you haven't had a chance to hear it. But just for a little tiny bit of background, when we moved into this area of warnings and strikes, we knew that we were getting a signal that was going to cause us to move quickly, and it was also going to put more responsibility on you as individuals. Now we're going to complicate matters considerably with some changes we're going to instigate tonight. I'm teasing. It isn't going to complicate things. It's just going to make things different, and they'll be a little bit more advanced. We're going to do a few things differently than we've done before. To start with, a minor thing, but then maybe not so minor, depends on how you treat it, is we're going to have a different retirement procedure, meaning going down at night and getting up in the AM. We're going to give you an hour leeway either way, but it does not mean more rest for you, more time down for you. I'll repeat that. We're going to give you an hour leeway either way, but it does not mean we're adding to your downtime. Now, what do you think that means? Give me, what do you think that means, Rody? Yes, but no one's going to set an alarm, and no one's going to awaken you. It's going to be your responsibility to program yourself to get up 8 hours after you go down. What else could that mean, Andody? Well, you can't get up at 7 if it throws anything off. One other stipulation is that all scheduling has to remain the same. That means all BC time, all bath time, all experiment time. So you can do this liberty here of this hour only so long as it does not change any scheduling. It does not interrupt with anyone's regular bath time, so forth. What about, what if yes, okay.
Because I think it can be twisted. In other words, if he went down at 11, he would have to get up at his regular up time. I want to make sure
that's right.
Understood. In other words, he wouldn't sleep an hour later.
Right.
So we want to make that clear. He would be minus an hour's rest.
And this cannot extend past 1 hour. This freedom here to change your uptime, downtime, that it cannot extend past an hour. Okay, let's say that, like T said, if he stays up an extra hour, then he loses an hour's sleep that night. Can he make it up the next night and go, because he has an option to go down an hour early? What do you say, Annie Odie? No, that's right, he doesn't. And nothing is altered. We're not adding naps. We're not...
Now let me ask you something. What if he wants to go down at 9 and his downtime is 10 p.m. the next night? Could he do that?
What do you say, Logody?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he couldn't go down at 8 o'clock to make up for that hour.
Or he couldn't go down at 9 o'clock and get up at his regular time.
We hope that you all can appreciate this, because what is going to happen at this time you're getting to where to be where, in other words, we want to work you all into ways of the next level where you have more freedom,
more personal responsibility.
And this might not seem very big to you, but to us it is.
Well, something else is going to be brought to your attention in a few minutes that will be even greater personal responsibility. I don't know what the thermostat is set on, but I'm sure it's probably cool in the hall, but you could set it a little cooler so it stays on a little longer, since we're going to generate so much heat in this room. Okay, now, let's say my regular downtime is 10 o'clock. Can I go down at 9:15, according to what we've told you? Yes. I can go down any time I want to, within that hour before my regular downtime, or within that hour after my regular downtime. But I have to get up in 8 hours unless it's been after my regular downtime, which I will then be shorted that much of my rest time. Are there any questions about it? Does everybody clearly understand it?
Just on this, because we know you
Just
have other
just
questions.
on this rest thing. Devotee? That's right. Now, there are a couple other little things that we would like to have happen. If you, let's say that you did stay up, and but you couldn't wake up when you were supposed to wake up at the end of 7 hours. Let's say you went to bed an hour late. No, let's say you went to bed an hour early, but you couldn't wake up an hour early. We want you to write a note. I woke up 15 minutes or 18 minutes late. This is a note to Lynx, and I'm going to program my vehicle. Now, in other words, we want you to impose that programming, but keep us posted when you don't comply with it. Okay? It's just like, because if I tried 2 or 3 times and I couldn't, and I wasn't doing it, and I tried harder a time or two, I'd begin to wonder, I'm beginning to get everything off kilter. Now, we're not trying to, we don't want you to set new sleep patterns. We don't want you now to make a habit of going down an hour early on a regular basis. Do you see that? Or going down an hour late on a regular basis. Or we hope that you don't do that. Because it's going to be up to you. But you would be, in a sense, abusing this thing if you just change it to one extreme or the other in order to do what you want it to do, like always go down an hour early or always go down an hour late. It's giving you some flexibility there, which you can have and you can exercise, or you can choose to leave things exactly as they are. And but we still want you to have only 8 hours or less than that if you're going down late. And we want you to keep us posted if your mental alarm clock is not working for you. But we're not going to bail you out of it. You're going to still have to do it yourself, or go back to your regular downtime, or whatever it takes to be within that 8-hour framework. Do you see what we're saying, Chanody? Whatever goes off now still goes off. Yes, we're not changing that, right?
Right.
Yes, whatever goes off now still goes off. You all ready? What do you say?
Well, what they could do is take the notes and put them on a report, like all of them.
And list them?
Just list them all together.
Be okay.
Hopefully there won't be any. But if there happens to
Let's
be
let's don't plan on there being.
No, we're going to assume that everybody, you might, and we don't want you worrying about it because this is something that will help you in the long run. So don't worry about going to sleep afraid that you won't awaken.
No, that'll mess up the rest of the time too.
Then you won't even, we're defeated.
Yeah, I'm afraid to go to sleep because I won't get up on time. Finally, you fall asleep an hour before it's time to get up, and your next day is shot. You know.
Good question. What do y'all think? Star Rudy?
Okay, that was a previous instruction, but at this moment it's eliminated.
Okay. And, okay, let me ask you a question now. What if you get up an hour early? What do? Do you
I go wake
take your
somebody
bath?
else up because I'm
Do you go and take your bath? Do you make a lot of noise? What do you do? Rudy? But do you take your bath? Right. In other words, did you all hear that?
You do not take your bath.
In other words, you stay on your same bath schedule. So if you get up, you just do whatever you got up for. You know, surely you plan.
If you want to read, if you want to work on yourself, if you whatever you got up for, but you don't get up to do the things that would normally be done on a different schedule. Okay? Linody? Glad you brought that up. Okay. What do you say?
Well, you only have one, right? And it won't be very long, and that one won't be. Where is that one? That one won't be doing that much longer, so that won't be a problem. But
I don't think we would want, if T agrees, we wouldn't want Sarah Fody to opt to be any later up. If that's what we're talking about, right? Sarah Fody's downtime?
right. Well, see, that's the same schedule.
Yes, yes. That hasn't changed. Yes. Yes, sir.
Let's don't let it apply.
No, for now, no. For now, no. This does not apply to retreat. It applies.
You have the option to go down early anyway at retreat,
Yes.
but you get extra sleep there.
Okay, now we've got lots more other things to cover, so only hit on the things that you think are really pertinent to this question. That one was pertinent, though. It's okay. Okay, anything else on this question that you can see a kink in, Melody? No, not if it was already there. We're just not adding anything. In other words, if you had an option for an early bath slot, right?
Well, the early bath slot is scheduled, is that what it is? Or do they just sign up for it? In other words, let's put it this way. You wouldn't take your bath any earlier than you do now. Like if you go down at...
If you had been taking, at times opting to take that early bath slot, then that would be as early as you could opt to take it. You can't adjust that now because of this new routine, right? Sorry, Yodi? Okay. All right, there. Now, let's get on to a more major thing. From this time on, we're going to let me back up. At times we've given individuals bans on seeing anything critical about other individuals. And from this time on, everyone is banned from seeing anything about anyone else, even if they break procedure. There is no more 3-time breakage. Your responsibility for doing what you are to do is going to be your own. Now, there are 2 or 3 exceptions. One is security. If it endangers our security, then we would be informed in the same way we would now be informed. One is like abuse of any tool, whether it's a vehicle on the road or abuse of anything in your craft, and endangering the usefulness of that tool. Do you understand what we're saying? Or endangering anyone else. And what was the third one? Or did that category take in both of those, all 3 of those, that endangering tools?
It would be the same thing that we, I think that's it.
Because, in other words, we combined the last 2 in that saying abusing any tool or endangering any tool. Now, go ahead.
Well, it's the same thing that we gave you the other day for strikes. In other words, we're not listing the strikes or the warnings.
No.
It's the same thing that you would be getting strikes for.
Now, let me go over what he's saying. This does not mean that it eliminates 3-time breakage. Okay? But there's things that we have just instigated that are not canceled. And this is, you can either be a witness or you can be a what's the other court term? No, the suspect. Okay. You can be the witness or the suspect. We will get notes from witnesses and notes from suspects in those areas that we have covered regarding warnings and strikes. And that will continue. In fact, it hasn't even gotten started. It's just getting started. But do you understand that? So we're not DCing that. You'll be a witness or you'll be a suspect. The suspect, of course, is the individual who has done something that might be considered a strike, Hopefully, the note that we would get would be from that suspect more than from witnesses, or if we get a note from witness, it should be accompanied or come at the same time that a note from a suspect.
But not solicited.
But that doesn't mean that the witness knows that the suspect has written one or vice versa. But like if we get one from a witness and get none from the suspect, we're going to suspect that one of 2 things is wrong. Either the witness saw it wrong or the suspect is conveniently hiding it because they don't want to face it. Do you follow that? So that continues as we have designed it.
Now, can you all understand how that will work? Coming from where we're coming from? In other words, if you are always looking out for anything that you could possibly do wrong, you are using your next level mind. And that will help bring in your next level mind more quickly. So understand the motive behind this method here.
Now, those things that you would write as a witness or suspect are only on the criteria, only the categories, only the characteristics that we have listed. In other words, it'd be not using a check partner, or abusing the check partner usage, using it wrongly, and so forth. Those things that we have put on your list. Now, we talked a little on the tape with Retreat this last time about your next level mind, and we talked also about something that we haven't talked to you about, the fact that we know that some of your minds are older than some of the others, and that you all have a little variation in birthdays as far as your mind's birthdays, and we're not talking about vehicular. And T and Do could probably even make a list and say the list would probably slant to a degree and would have a lot of question marks on it, but would show those who were that we would suspect had little older minds, and some that we had a little younger minds, and then there would be some that would be suspected to be younger minds who were pushing faster maybe than some of the other younger minds. But none of that matters, because what matters is that all of you, now this will get you, have it in your genes to comply with these characteristics that we are talking about that would constitute a warning or a strike. And you say, how do I have it in my genes? Don't forget, you all have next level vehicles, and they have genes, because the genes is the summation of the programming of your mind. Now, you have to bring in to this vehicle that you're borrowing, that you're using, you have to bring in that mind, in other words, what is recorded in those genes, sufficiently to have the kind of conduct that is already, or would have been already, normal conduct for you before you took this vehicle. You know these things. You know how to never do anything without a check partner. Not one of you has not learned that previously. Only your vehicle stands in the way of that, and everything else on that list. You know how to restrain yourself. You know how to not think off the top of your head and act and then ask about it later, but to use extreme caution about the decisions that you make. And you know how to want to always keep everything out in front with whatever older member that you're working with, and so that nothing could possibly breed inside of you that would be secret or private, or that could cause a separation between you and anyone that you would be working with. You know all these things, but your vehicle blocks them. Now, the more you bring in your next level mind and the information from the genes of your next level vehicle, the more your vehicle, after all these years that you've been inhabiting this vehicle, your vehicle should be cooperating a lot more with you on most scores. Some scores it may still have difficulty cooperating with you. But your vehicle by this time doesn't like to be scolded even on the areas that it knows it's going to be scolded if it doesn't do next level procedure. So in a sense, your vehicle itself wants you to do those things. because it catches it. The vehicle is what catches it each time you don't comply with next level ways. So think this out. Know that you have this in your mind. You should be, like if you get up early or you're staying up late or any time else when you have a moment to think, or even when you're doing lab duty or you're on an out-of-craft task, you should constantly be pleading from two different angles. From the mind trying to push into that vehicle to bring more consciousness and awareness of the kind of thinking and acting that you would do and were accustomed to before taking that vehicle. And another way is even the vehicle itself is going to be, in order to protect itself, is going to be striving for more mind. Do you understand that? Now, before we go any further on any other subjects, we want to see if you have any questions on this area of you cannot see fault in each other. You are now banned from it. You cannot make a comment in the lab about somebody doing this wrong or somebody doing that wrong, or that other crew does this or that. Now, if you do it, then we hope that all ears are instantly closed and they don't hear you do it. And that you yourself will hear it so loud that it will be obnoxious to you. And you'll catch yourself before you do it again. Because now what you're trying to do, there's a funny thing we ought to discuss here for a moment. Some human level vehicles almost have a BO about them. I'm not talking about BO. I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about they have an aura or a smell or something, but it isn't a smell. But it's a presence around them that automatically attracts others' eyes to criticize them. And certain vehicles catch more criticism than other vehicles. And some vehicles just at varying degrees have this air they carry with them that just really catches it. They can't breathe without being called down about it, because no matter how they do it, somebody's going to see them doing it wrong. And at all degrees. Now, others have an air that they create around them that protects them from being seen doing anything wrong. And they are Mr. Diplomat. They are. It's very cunning. They don't want to be. They want to be seen as very humble and very right, and wanting only to do what is right. But they very carefully set up an air that you don't even think of ever criticizing them. And it's really their backhanded protection from being criticized or being seen in ways that could be improper. Now, we haven't been able until this moment to really zero in on these two diseases. But the only way we can zero in on these two diseases is to ban everyone from seeing anything wrong. And put the responsibility on you as an individual to do what is right. And we can't believe that there's an individual in this craft who does not want to do everything right. And something in them causes it to be twice as hard for them to do what's right frequently when someone's always pointing out what they're doing wrong. Can you see that? It's a fact. So we're ready for this. We're ready for this step. And you're going to find that It's hard to hold your tongue if you've been one of those. There's another error, a third error, is around those people who automatically feel better if they see something wrong with someone else. And they've set it up so that they're really only interested in what is right. That's the only reason. They don't want to bring it up. That's what they say. And they even think it's true that they don't want to bring it up. And it's usually only because of their own unconscious or even sometimes conscious disappointment in themselves or feeling of inferiority. So remember, there are three types of diseases that we're working against here. One is the disease that people carry around them, that no matter what they do, others pick on them, so to speak, justified or not. And that air that's around them almost colors your eyes if you're one who somewhat righteously wants others to do what's right. You can't help but go to someone who has that air around them that is vulnerable to being criticized. And they're usually so used to it because they've gotten it all their lives. Those vehicles have had it that way all their lives. So remember those three areas. One is the one that carries with them something that is always picked on. And then there's the other one that always protects themselves, and no one ever thinks. They think they're such a great guy because they have developed such a diplomacy, and they're such a nice person that you just can't see anything wrong. And if you do, you know they didn't mean it. And the third disease is the one that finds some sort of righteous satisfaction in trying to help someone else by pointing out their faults. And they're all three wrong, equally wrong. If there's one that's less wrong, it's the one who has not set up the air to protect his faults and the one who's picked on. If there is a lesser wrong, it's that category because they're wide open. Well, this step has got to move you ahead in personal responsibility so that you are determined to be 100%. And it should really shoot you up. It should really make you feel good in a way, but not good in the way of, oh boy, they're going to lay off of me now. It should make you feel good in the way of, oh boy, I'm going to now have the opportunity to prove that I want to live 100% according to the ways of the next level. I can bring my next level mind in sufficiently to comply with all the characteristics that are basic for my next level mind. I'm going to look at this list a minute. Can you add something to that? Or do you want to ask them if they have any questions?
Jenna, do you have a question?
Sure. Is the bright side shining in on it? Are you afraid someone might look in? Might walk by? Okay. Go ahead and close it.
Any other questions while we're waiting? We're not going to tell you what group you belong to.
No, oh yes, you are. It's very clear because there are certain spelled out categories.
Remember those
That's
categories?
right. Those categories are carefully spelled out. Now, And you, what harm have you done? You're taking a chance. Links, believe it or not, you all don't always believe it, but believe it or not, Links never takes anybody's word for anything. We get, and we say that because we shouldn't. We get down to it. In other words, if somebody says that someone did something, we take the fact that you said they did something. We don't take the fact that they did it. It isn't a fact to us until we have investigated it very, very carefully with every source available to us and with that individual, and then we check with those who can monitor closer than we can monitor before we ever try to zero in on helping that individual. Now, if you're a witness in these categories of warnings and strikes, what you haven't lost anything, but what you haven't done is criticize anyone. You've kept it entirely to yourself. You wrote a little note. You said, here, Links. And it's only on the categories that we have listed to you. And it goes to Links. It does not go on reports. It goes in a private note to Links. Right? Have we set it up differently than that? Oh, no. But have we set it up that the witness goes on reports? What do you say, T?
No, I was under the impression that it was notes that would come to Links.
That they were both private, both witness and suspect. Let's change it if we set it up the other way. That they're both private. Now, let's say that Sunodi witnessed something and she thought Narodi was present and Narodi witnesses, but they know they shouldn't talk about something like that between themselves because they certainly shouldn't. In other words, Narodi can't say to Sunodi, did you send a witness note? Then I don't have to send one. That would really be human. That would really be low way.
So we would get 2 notes.
So if you both witnessed it, we get 2 notes. And we question the individual thoroughly, we question you thoroughly, we try to see what their comprehension was, what their understanding was, what they thought they were doing, and we take it from there. But you don't discuss it. You would all be a suspect. We could add this to the list. If you discuss suspect or witness activities with someone else. That is strictly between you and Links.
The only way you can get your mind in is to stop the human ways. And this, I know we have set up this procedure along the way, but now it's losing its usefulness, and we have to get you set up a vibration more for your next level mind to come in more strongly. Can you understand that? In other words, if I were one of the individuals who had the aura around me of always being criticized, I'm afraid my next level mind wouldn't want to come in. I don't really believe that, but I mean, I'm just saying that because it would be too unpleasant for me. I would rather let my vehicle take it all and let my mind be free of that vibration. So so you ought to realize now that you have grown to where if you set up the vibration right within your own vehicle, then your next level mind would try to do everything according to the way you have been taught, as much as you can. Then your next level mind will come in more strongly. We need that force at this time. Have you all heard that tape? Is that on the tape that was just? We need the force at this time in order to have what is to happen happen. And we've got to all work together. If we don't, we will not accomplish what we need to accomplish.
This has to be very potent. It has to be done very seriously. It has to be done as if you in your mind feel like you have a deadline, and it's a very short deadline, in which to accomplish these things and be standing on your own feet. We would be extremely disappointed in you if you take these changes and this addition to your conduct as something that we're going to work on for the next few months or couple of years.
We want to be completed next week, okay? And have this all under control. This is how you want to think. Now, T&O, as you all know, we've had to go on task, and which required us to go many, many miles, and it gets pretty tiring when you're confined to the gravity of this planet, having to put in every mile on a road. You follow that? In other words, it isn't pleasant to us to do that, and but it's work, and it's things that we have to do, and we don't fully understand it, but we know we have to do it. And we just got back a couple of days ago from a long, very short but long distance task, and we really were hoping we wouldn't have to go out again real soon. And what I'm saying is that we came here tonight because we felt like it was that important that we give this to you firsthand so that you will fully understand it. And from this moment on, after you hear it, you will do it 100% of your time. Don't take it lightly, because you're not fooling around with little old individuals. You're fooling around with the top dog, who's even above the President of the United States. So that's pretty high, you know. So look at it in this way, that it will be a wonderful experience for you to realize who you are. Totally. I feel like you're having an inkling of it now, but once you begin to do what we ask you to do, your mind will come in more and more, and as soon as your mind gets in to where it is, where links is in the realization, then we will have accomplished what we came here to accomplish. And so, but it's left up to you all. You're from this time on, you're not limited to how much mind can come in, because in a sense you have the gaps that you have. Like if you're right here and this is where you're trying to go, you have all this space to go in, meaning to get your mind into your vehicle, so that you will realize what we need, what we want you to realize. Now, we don't want you to come up with any fantasy dreams. Oh, I felt like I was I'm in a spacecraft or something. Where is that bug?
Right there.
Oh, missed it.
The color of his shirt's the same color as the cabinet.
Oh, but the thing of it is, you want to realize that you can, with this step, go as far as you want to go according to your effort, and the end result will be realization of who you are. Now, to me, what greater prize could you have, or what greater reward could you have? We've never told you that before, and believe me, it's a great feeling, because we can say without a doubt in our mind who we are and what we feel, and to be able to walk as a member of the next level, both feet on the curb, and not one in the gutter and one on the curb, is a very, very nice feeling to have. And meaning. You know what I mean by that, don't you? You're not going back and forth from human responses to next level responses. You make up your mind right now that you're no longer going to have human responses. And the next level ways, you know what they are. You know, but now we say you cannot see anything wrong in another individual. The only thing that you will see will be some of the things that would stand out like a neon sign, the things that we have listed. And it would almost be hit you in the face, so to speak, before you would see it.
I want to add one, if you permit me to change it if you don't like it. But I want to add this one to your list of things that you could get a warning or a strike about, and that would be a twisting of a procedure to your own advantage. In other words, taking advantage of a procedure or twisting it because of something your vehicle wanted. Do you follow that? Now, and that for the most part would not be witnessed. That for the most part would be you have recognized that you were doing it. Let's say I put Presody on the skinny list. And Presody goes on the skinny list, and after 3 or 4 days, she says to herself, I'm going to pop. I can't eat what I was normally eating at my first and second and third experiment and add these sandwiches and have this fruit and do all this. I'm going to pop. So after 2 or 3 days, it dawns on her. I think I can figure out a way to alleviate it a little bit. I can take smaller portions at my experiment, or I can leave more on my plate, since I'm required to eat. My mind, when T was talking about it feels a lot better to walk with both feet on the curb instead of one in the gutter. Even your vehicle, you have blended your next level genes and your next level mind enough with your vehicle's genes that in most cases your vehicle is more satisfied to live according to this new way that you have taught it. All it doesn't know is it's ignorant, because you haven't brought enough next level mind in to enlighten it about the ways that are common to your next level mind. You haven't forced that information in enough so that all of your conduct is as your next level mind. Do you follow that? But for the most part, your vehicle itself likes that after all the time you've been working on it. It protects it, gets a lot less anxiety for it. It doesn't have to be scolded, so it really gets tired of being scolded. And your next level mind is scolding it all the time. So after a while, it's just starts to be on your side more. Now, something that, or back to what T said, if it ever enters your little human vehicular brain, I know it wouldn't enter your next level mind, that T and Do might have their two-facedness, or that you see us one way, and I wonder what T and Do have to deal with when they're separate, how much they have to deal with in capping their own restraint or saying something improper to the other one. What's funny is that you have witnessed that, if you think about it, you'll remember that you have witnessed when our vehicles have had difficulty with each other. You have witnessed it as bad as we ever witnessed it. And the reason you have witnessed it, and you've witnessed it in meetings, I can't count the number of times in meetings that you have seen opportunities when our vehicle could be impatient with the other one or take it in the wrong place, and you can see that building, and then you have seen us get control of it and dissipate it so that it doesn't exist. You haven't seen us get control of it so that we can wait and blow off our head at each other when we get out to the car. But what I'm talking about is the reason you have seen that is so that you would see it play acted for your sakes. Do you understand that? Because what we're talking about here, when we talked on the tape, is so important that you make that distance a wide distance between the first sign of something going awry and the committal of the explosion of spending yourself, whether it's sensuality or whether it's anger or whether it's letting some criticism out or some catty remark or sarcasm, whatever it is. In other words, make that gap long between that first recognition that something in you is seeing something wrong or can possibly be seeing, or let's say at this point you probably don't recognize that it's seeing something wrong at this first point over here. You're only seeing it as wrong. But up here at step 1 or 2, you're recognizing that you might be seeing it wrong. Do you see what I'm saying? But what happens so frequently is that for many of you, that space is like this. The first recognition and the explosion are almost together. They're almost one thing. Instead of forcing yourself to spread that way out and giving what you want to do is nip it here. But we can understand that sometimes when you're trying very, very hard with difficulty, it might take you till here. Or under extreme rare occasions, when your vehicle in all circumstances are horrible, it might take you here. But we can understand it emptying out there. Does it mean you didn't do any work at all? You didn't even try to recognize how you could be seeing it wrong or try to cap that force. Now, we've talked about this more on the tape at retreat, but you've all got to you've got to think before you act. You've got to cap that force. You've got to utilize that force that could be released in some wrong way. And it can be even an energy for you. It can be a thing that gives you knowledge. It can be the very energy force that it took to bring more next level mind in. But if you don't cap it, I promise you, no next level mind comes in. Furthermore, you're usually delayed a day or two before you're even in a condition of receiving more of that energy. It takes you a while to even recover from having exploded. Do you follow what we're saying? It's very important on this particular task that you're in when you're using a human vehicle, that you keep that distance there and work here so that it doesn't get anywhere close to here. The important thing is it never reaches here. Now, it's greater if it's kept here. Do you see what we're saying? But sometimes it might be way over here in spite of everything you're trying to do. But that doesn't mean that there's that much more reason to let it go on there. It means that there's that much more reason to catch it here. And you can even utilize the energy that is built as you've tried to cap it. Let's say that I'm in the lab and the 4 of us, the 5 of us are working, or 3 or 4, or however many, and you say something to me that really touches me off. And the next thing I know, you do. And then you're all against me. Now, this is silent. This is what I'm seeing in my head. But if I say, it sure is my day in the lab, you all seem to really have it in for me. I have done nothing. But let's say it registers one at a time that Branody has really, she couldn't have cut me down worse than the remark that she made. And then that look out of Melody's eye, I have never seen anything as insulting as that. And then Sunodi had to come back not 10 minutes later and give it to. By this time, that force is like this, and I have said nothing. They may not even know that it's building like that. But even if I couldn't catch it, before they even knew that it was building, if I catch it before anything shows on my face, or certainly before I say anything or make any ugly comment or turn abruptly and say it just with the look on my face, if I catch it before that, they even all know what happened. And they're proud of me for what I did. I caught it. I converted it. I didn't let any of it cause them any anxiety. I didn't let it interfere with my task. I kept right on. In other words, it's like a surge came in and it builded, and I kept it, and I went right back to my task. But in a sense, I exploded to a degree if I have to go leave the room to get it under control. Because they all know quite well I'm troubled. So I've let a whole lot of it leak out, even in the letting of them know that.
You have to, you might as well learn what the symptoms are when your mind is coming in sometimes. Do y'all know what it is? What are some of the symptoms? No, not mind. When you're getting forced.
Yes. Because it's like medicine. We've called it medicine. It's like medicine preparing you for your next level mind.
What are some of the symptoms? Moody? What? Stress, right? Orthotic? Right. What else?
Yeah.
Sometimes. Anybody else? Actually, those are Sunodi.
Oversensitive and seeing something wrong.
Okay.
I guarantee you, every time you see something wrong with someone else, and I didn't mean to take your punchline, but I can promise you, it's medicine that's headed for you, and you spent it the moment you told them about it.
The vehicle is very susceptible to the mind coming in or the medicine. And but it can adjust to it. Hey, Modi, did you want to add one thing? Right, mental argument, sure. In other words, the vehicle, it's a foreign force, excuse me, to the vehicle. It's like a reaction that the vehicle isn't used to receiving. And in a sense, the vehicle doesn't know how to respond to this force. It can respond only to the way that it knows how to do, which would be stress, irritability, and all the things that we named a moment ago. So let's say you get up in the morning and you feel hyper, you feel wired up, you feel impatient, you feel irritable. The first time that you let that out onto somebody else, you are losing that force and you are preventing your vehicle from adjusting, because it's like going in one ear and out the other ear, and leaving nothing there for the vehicle to adjust. Now, the first time you prevent the air from leaking out, you plug up your ears, then it may be a little difficult. But believe it or not, the vehicle will respond if you talk to it. You can say, vehicle, it's okay. Just calm down. This feeling will go away in just a little bit. But just don't give in to it. Now,
even by being upset. In other words,
just relax, vehicle. In other words, this is how it's like you're petting a little dog.
Right.
Now, it's all right, little puppy. You know, whatever, however you want to say it. And the vehicle will respond to it. because it likes it. The vehicle likes it, and it's a characteristic you're using to your advantage by talking to your vehicle in this way.
Now, excuse me.
You see what we're saying? Now, after you do it the first time, it might be a little bit hard, but the next time that the medicine comes in, it won't be as severe of a reaction to the vehicle. And you will find that it's much easier to console the vehicle. Now, after you do it 3 or 4 times, the vehicle will begin to console itself. Because when it comes in, it will say to you, oh, you're just getting medicine right now. The mind is just coming in. And in other words, it doesn't know what's happening before.
You want to pre-program it so that it knows to interpret it that way, even before it recognizes that. Do you see what we're saying? If you pre-program it, that when it begins to, these symptoms begin to happen, that, oh, it's okay, you're just getting medicine. It's just preparing you for more next level mind. You know, there's symptoms with us, with T&O, and the funny thing is, a lot of times, in a real heavy dose of medicine, which prepares you for a lot more next level mind, those have to go in the same breath. A lot of times it affects more than a single individual at the same time. It might affect someone that you're working with in the lab, or someone that you're in a vehicle with on a shuttle, or it can affect both. In other words, the medicine can be coming to both at the same time. It's almost like the next level sees, here's an opportunity to give you that medicine. And by capping it, you're prepared for next level mind. If you don't cap it, it's wasted until another opportunity. But funny thing happened, some of the symptoms that happened to us that begin to give us some clues is that what we're saying doesn't match what we're thinking. The words that are coming out of our mouth don't at all match what we're thinking. And the words we hear from the other one sound like they're way down in the gutter. I don't mean gutter, but I mean that what they're saying sounds very human. At the moment, I'm getting a dose of medicine, or let's say it's hitting T&O together. I can see a symptom with me, because I'm not usually that, or sometimes I can see the symptom with both of us. But see, I don't know it, because I don't know what's going on in T's head. But I know it in me that my thoughts are, that what's coming out my mouth doesn't match my thoughts. It's like an intense energy has struck the vehicle, and for the moment, it's short-circuiting. And so words come out that don't even come close to the signal that was sent for words to come out. And the other person that might be involved at the time, words that come out, they might also be experiencing the same thing. And the words that come out during the time I'm receiving that, they don't make any sense to me. And the only way I could translate them would be way down here, to see them in a very human way. So there's least of all the right time for me to judge what's coming out over there. Least of all is that the right time for me to judge it. Because it's I who don't have the capacity to know what those words mean, because it's hitting me. Do you see what I'm saying? It's only after I have capped it to the extent of knowing that I'm not going to let it cause me anything wrong to say or any negative feeling in that direction or any other direction after it, that I then begin to see information. Every time T&O get, not every time, take it back, many times when we get new, almost every time, but not every time, but many times when we get new information, we experience this. Almost an inability for a little while to say what we're thinking. And what comes out and what goes back and what is just almost gibberish, because it doesn't make sense. And, yeah, the Holy Spirit done hit us, and so we're speaking in tongues. But the funny thing is that the word, your vehicle tends to hear the words that the other was saying and really mistranslate. And I think this vehicle tends to mistranslate a lot more than T's vehicle tends to mistranslate. So I have to work on, that's wrong. What you're hearing is wrong. Just wait. Because in a few minutes, if by capping, I'll raise my standard of listening. Do you see what I'm saying? I'll raise my level of listening. And at the same time, T by capping is bringing in more information. And by the more effort, because we're recognizing at this point that we're talking in tongues, and so we have to put a lot more effort into trying to get the brain to function at the level of our next level mind. And by the time it finally does, then we say, wow, isn't that great? We would have never reached it had we not gone through the capping process. Now, the same thing is true with you every time you're trying to bring in next level mind. Not every time, but many times.
You've got to also be aware that when medicine comes down, it isn't dropped on you. And the ones of you who are alert will receive it. It's an individual thing. In other words, let's look at it this way. Suppose these are only puppets, and you are up in the heavens shooting some mind or sending your mind into these vehicles. And the mind is shot into your vehicle a little bit at a time, and I'm just supposing now because I want you to see this picture. And but your mind is being slowly fed into the vehicle as the vehicle is able to receive it. Adjust to it. And what you're trying to do is get more mind into the vehicle in order to get the vehicle under control and get the next level mind where it is strong in the vehicle because of the task that you have to do for the world. You've got to leave these genes in this human vehicle. And this is the only way you can do it. Now, if this is true, then there are 35 of you sitting up there in the heavens, and each one of you have a vehicle. So therefore, it will only, each one of you will respond differently. Can you understand that? Because it's still on an individual basis. Now, don't translate this to mean that I'm saying this is how it is. I'm trying to have you understand that, in a sense, this is how it is. You're getting in this vehicle, each one of you, 35 different doses. But it isn't a mass dose. They don't empty a bucket on all of you, and each of you draw whatever you need to draw. It's an individual, or whatever you choose to draw. It's an individual thing. And the sooner we get this accomplished, the sooner we get these genes into these vehicles in the most right way, the things that are to happen out in the world will have happened. And then we will have accomplished our task. This is why this step is extremely important. because each one of you have to take the responsibility to do what you came here to do. And if you take it lightly, and if you only do it part of the time, then, well, I think you know what can happen. And I hope that you all don't like this world so well that you want to prolong our stay here. I just can't believe that you do. And therefore, the sooner you adjust those vehicles to receive the medicine from your next level mind or wherever it comes from, meaning put a cap on all of these things and talk your vehicle through it, through adjusting to whatever's happening. Now, another way this vehicle, every way that you wrote on your little task, the vehicle responds to those things. And these are the things that you need to put a cap on. And any more that might show through as soon as you cap one,
that you
seems
might become aware of.
Right. In other words, you don't want to limit it just to that, but you want a next level. What you're striving to become is a very easygoing member of the next level who doesn't find fault in anyone, who follows procedures to the best of his ability. He can see his faults within himself, and he is eager to let his teachers know, or the older members who he is working with know about it, because he wants the older member to know that he knows that he has done wrong. Now, this is how it's set up here. It isn't set up like that in the next level, because we don't have the facilities that they have in the next level. In other words, you don't have to write notes to older members when you break a procedure. They know it anyway. And but we're using that procedure now because we don't have that ability because we are in these kind of vehicles. But you want to accomplish, to become harmonious with each other. We want you to be happy to come into the craft if you have an out-of-craft task every evening. We want you to feel badly about leaving the craft in the morning to go to your out-of-craft task. We don't want you to be happy to leave and be away from it.
We're not saying we want you to feel
Did I say that
so
wrong?
badly that your out-of-craft task is unpleasant to you, but we want the craft to be your choice.
In other
It would be where you would be, where you would prefer. It would be a more pleasant place for you.
Did I say that back?
No, you didn't say it backwards, but I don't want them to
hate
their out-of-craft task.
No,
yes.
That's not what I mean. Because some of you just might enjoy being at your out-of-craft task.
Yes, there's still certain characteristics of some of your out-of-craft tasks that your vehicles might kind of enjoy. And you have to check yourself and see whether they do. You know, whether it's the donuts or the chocolate-covered strawberries or the lunch here at the conference there. You have to check, have I kind of let that sneak in and been an area that my vehicle kind of enjoyed? Because your vehicle should have even grown so much after all you have trained it by now that even your vehicle is more uncomfortable with things out there. Everything it consumes, everybody, I can't imagine having to sit at a lunch period with a human for as long as it would take them to eat. It'd be hard to consume. I'd gag trying to have to keep the conversation going. It certainly wouldn't be pleasant, even if I was a good play actor. I want to go back to this thing that T was saying just a moment ago and make one more analogy on that same thing. Because it's almost like like T said, if your mind is here and yet your mind is in your vehicle. Another way of maybe looking at it would be like if you were the patient on bed in the hospital, and you were both the nurse and the patient. And the nurse is your next level mind, and the patient lying down in the bed is your vehicle. And you've got a plastic container of this fluid that you're taking intravenously. And X number of ounces of that fluid are in there. And when those ounces are all gone, then enough next level mind has come in to the patient to qualify for that task being over. Now, the nurse is pushing that fluid in and is coming into this vehicle. And the vehicle has a hard time adjusting to that much fluid, and it's at times it's kind of painful, and it short circuits it, and it reacts wrong to it, and what it wants to do is prick itself here and there, and let a little squirt out here, a little squirt, take the pressure off.
Sometimes it's a colonic irrigation.
Yeah. and your job is, because what the nurse is really waiting for is an indication from you that you're ready for a little more. Now, both are you. Both are you. The nurse is your next level mind. And you down here as the patient are hoping to, as fast as you can, assimilate that so that you can then go back into the nurse and push a little more. And plug up the holes. And recognize that there's always some other area that's going to try to open up to vent, losing that. Because when it has all come in with no loss, you are one. You're not entirely one, but you finish that task. Because you're never going to have all your next level mind in this vehicle. But you're going to have enough that you qualify for the task having to be over. Do you follow that?
Another thing, a way the vehicle will respond to when the medicine is coming in from the nurse, and that is a very strong sensuality. And what you want to do is talk your vehicle through that by saying, it isn't that at all. You know, just it's just medicine, and after a while the vehicle will even tell you that. In other words, it's funny how quickly the vehicle will adapt at this time, and you won't have to concern yourself with that part. And so, just think about this seriously, and vow, promise yourself. Don't promise Lynx or Chief or anybody else, but promise yourself that you're going to try to plug up or cap all of the little things that are on your list, and so that you will be able to get the mind into your vehicle that needs to get into it.
Take the full dose.
Take a full dose of it. You know, they say that arsenic isn't poisonous to you if you take it in small doses. And even, I don't know if you ever build an immunity to it or where you can take a large dose or not. I imagine eventually it will kill you. But there are some medicines that they give in small doses and gradually build it up so that you can adapt to it, because the vehicle has the ability to do that. The vehicle has the ability to receive the mind. We are an example of it. We feel like we have accomplished it. It doesn't mean we have all of our mind in, but we have enough of our mind in to know who we are and where we're from and what our task is. And we want you all to know that. We don't want you to convince yourself that you know it. We want you to actually know it. And when that, and then put the cap on all these little things And once you cap those little things that your vehicle has a tendency to let come out, then your mind should be in as much as it needs to be in.
You know, every cap, though, that you put on that wasn't capped the time before is going to have to be tested a number of times to see that your cap is good. Do you see what we're saying? It's got to be tested to see that you've got good threads on that plug.
It's Scotch tape.
Do you see what we're saying? And otherwise, you're not really proving that you're ready for more until those have been tested. And in some areas of absolute necessity and basics of Next Level Mind basics, we have proven that we have not exercised caps lately. So you have got to hope for. In other words, we want your little, the amount of mind that's in you and that little patient saying, I'm going to do my best and I hope you can feed me that as fast as you can feed it. You see what we're saying? And we hope that you will exert the effort to have those tests come as quickly as possible that will be sufficient to test those areas that were not adequately plugged before. This can happen quickly. T told you just the other day it could happen in a month. Why draw it out?
It could happen in one day. Hopefully.
Okay, I think you can turn the tape off, McCurdy. Okay. As you're taking the responsibility for your actions, the reason we're putting this on tape is because we hope you're going to listen to this tape a number of times. And as you're taking more responsibility for your action, it should be very serious to you that you do not now start doing some of the things that others were calling you down for, because now you know that you can do them and they're not going to call you down. Just the opposite should be happening. That I'm not going to do them because I have certainly been shown them enough times to recognize them myself. And it should actually be easier for you to stop doing them, to catch yourself, because there was a built-in rebellion in the vehicle as long as someone else was bringing it to your attention. Do you follow those things? Okay.
When you all are at your out-of-craft task, you don't want to go down to the level of the ones that you are working with. You want to bring them up to your level. Now, the ones who who work at Computercraft, we'll use you all as an example because it seems like you're presented with circumstances that cause you to feel obligated to consume things that individuals bring to you, and you don't know how to get out of it without it looking strange. Now, how can you use that circumstance to your advantage? How can you bring those individuals up to a higher level instead of your having to go down to their level? How's that, Mr. Rhodey? In other words, it's a human characteristic, and it's not a very good human characteristic, to have to consume things at your work. Eating between meals, especially globs of dough, which clog up your intestines and really
like cinnamon rolls or donuts
can
or
do
things
you
like
in. Now, that's one way, it's true, but another way, Janet? Okay, but there are 4 people who's there out of 6, and they say that. Aren't they going to think it's kind of strange? So how could they handle it? Have Odie?
One of them could come across that.
That's right. You play it as an individual. You don't have a spokesman for the four.
Right. That
Okay,
blows it.
We don't consume this. Okay. Now.
Yeah, someone speaks up and says, "No, not I don't do. Do you? You? No, we don't do this." Like each of you really have to see how good you are at selling the idea that what you're doing is your choosing.
In other words, you're hesitant to put that in your stomach. You know what I mean? In a sense, and they're going to wonder, well, why is it these four young people don't want to eat this stuff, and here I'm an older person. Why don't I know better? You know. Now, if they say to you, well, what can we bring to you that you would like to consume? And you can say, well, fruit is really good for you. We really dig fruit. You know.
But
and,
not the kiwi or the avocados.
But the reason we can perform better for you is because we try to watch what we consume. And we hope we do a good job for you. We try to do a good job for you. But we know from past experience that sugar is not good for you, nor is the dough. Now
she's still talking as individuals.
Right.
You're not saying we.
You don't
speaking
gang
for
up
them.
on the poor guy, you know. You one of you can sit and the other one can say, hey, that's right. I haven't, I haven't eaten as many cinnamon rolls since I've been working here than I think in the past several years.
Yeah, I worked in an office one time where they had cinnamon rolls almost every day, and my system was just really giving me trouble. And I learned that by not doing that, I felt so much better if I stuck to something like fruit when I felt like I had to nibble. Just...
Right. Now, another way is you don't have to take anything just because it's offered to you.
And you certainly don't want to on a routine basis, on a regular basis.
Now, if you do it, in other words, you don't want to be obvious about it. You've got to work out your little song and dance, your little play acting. And you've got to figure out a way to teach something to the ones that you work with. In other words, you don't want to go down to their level. Yeah, let's use Livoti, for instance. She's offered things. I imagine patients come in and give her things, or doctors might give her things. She doesn't have to take it. Not as young as Livoti is, because after all, she's got to watch her figure.
From their point of view.
From their point of view. And there are all kinds of excuses for not accepting what people offer to you.
Right. Vanity, allergies, health kicks.
I have a history of diabetes in my family, and I kind of shy away from it, And you don't have to be a diabetic. You don't have to be anything. All you're doing is, I found out that if I don't eat that, I perform a lot better, which is the truth. And before long, they won't offer you things. Or if they say, well, what is it that I can bring to you that you like? Now, if a patient brings you a box of candy, you can't refuse it. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I can't take it. But don't bring it back to the craft and pass it around without talking to Lynx first.
Oh, did we correct the fact that what we should have done on that score? I think we did on the treat tape, didn't we? Like we had said that what should have happened is it should have been sent to Lynx, and then we said, they're applying the instruction that don't send those things to Lynx. So what actually should have happened was that anything that you received at your task like that should have been brought home, stuck on the shelf, and a note gone to Lynx. This was given to me. What can I do with it? Or yes, or candies that anything that somebody receives, and it would be awkward for them not to accept it. But you certainly don't go pass it out.
Now, over a period of time, if you're working in an area where people are bringing in things, if they ever ask and you don't eat any of the things, a characteristic of a human is to find out, well, what is it that you do like or eat? And you can eat raw vegetables. You can eat fruit. And I can guarantee you that those things will give you energy in the right direction and not deplete you of the vitamins that you take. In other words, every time you eat something doughy and sweet or what else? Chocolate candy.
Or he said fatty.
Fatty. That we don't know. But anyway, the cinnamon rolls or the donuts are once in a while it doesn't hurt you to have them. But if you have them on a regular basis, every time you eat them, it robs you. I found out today in a book that it robs you of your vitamin C and of your vitamin B's.
And we're jealous anyhow. We want to be the ones to dish out some sweets to you once in a while at retreat, but it's going to really mess you up if in addition to what we dish out to you, you're accepting it from other sources.
Well, not only that, but it adds to it. Once in a while it doesn't hurt you, but on a regular basis it can, because each time we think you have enough vitamins to keep your vehicles healthy and strong. But if you deplete them by taking something each day, even though it might be just a little piece of chocolate, if it's done each day, it will begin to deplete you daily of the dose that you're taking of your medicine. Of your vitamins. And so therefore you don't want to do that. When you come to retreat, and if Lynx has cakes or Snickers or whatever it is, then it doesn't hurt that one time or 2 times that you're at retreat, whatever it is. But if you have it every day during the week and you come to retreat and then you have it again, then we're adding to your troubles, not helping. And so therefore, it's better to avoid those things if at all possible. What do you do if they offer you coffee? I know that everybody drinks coffee at their work. How do you get out of that? Okay, why can't you say that to the cinnamon rolls or the donuts? It's not abnormal.
It's a very in thing with a lot of people to have dropped coffee and to have dropped sweets and to have dropped fatty things and to go more to raw vegetables, like those who are really hip with the health movement. So you shouldn't feel embarrassed about it at all. I'm going to call it